It was a Wednesday afternoon when it all happened. I'd just been let go from my job. I remember the moment my boss called me into her office, looking pale and uneasy. "I'm really sorry," she began, "but the company is downsizing and your position has been eliminated." I felt my heart drop to my stomach, but I held back the tears, nodding slowly. I packed up my desk in silence, the weight of years of hard work vanishing in an instant. My coworkers offered me hugs, but some avoided eye contact. I tried to stay composed, reminding myself that I would find another job soon. But inside I was terrified. My family was counting on me. On the long bus ride home, I imagined how I would break the news. Would they be disappointed? Would they offer me support, or would they turn away from me? I pictured my mom's sad eyes, my dad's usual sigh, maybe a sarcastic comment from my younger brother about how I was wasting my life. But for once, I hoped they would say, "It's okay. We'll figure this out together." When I stepped into our small, cluttered living room, everyone was there, sitting as usual. I took a deep breath and said, "I got fired." Silence followed. My brother Aaron chuckled quietly. Bella, my younger sister, shrugged. My parents exchanged a disappointed glance. No comforting words. I felt a sharp pang in my chest. I knew this was just the beginning. "Useless," Aaron muttered from the couch without even looking up. Bella crossed her arms. "So what now? Are you planning to live off food stamps while you search for another job?" I clenched my fists, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've been supporting this family for 12 years. I just need a little time to find something else." Dad sighed heavily. "Time? We have bills, Yasmin. You can't just sit around." Mom, who was resting in her recliner, raised an eyebrow. "Your dad's right. We all depend on you. You know that." I looked at my siblings, remembering all the times I paid for their clothes, textbooks, and phone bills. Aaron was absorbed in his phone, not even bothering to look up. Bella pretended to dust off her sweater like my news was an inconvenience. I forced a smile. "I'll be fine. Don't worry about me." But the tension in my chest kept growing. As I turned to leave the room, Aaron chuckled under his breath again. "You're worth nothing if you can't hold down a job." I locked myself in my room and collapsed on the bed. For the first time, I felt angry instead of just hurt. The next morning, I tried to keep things normal. I offered to help around the house, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, while I sent out resumes. I just wanted to stay productive, maintain some peace. But Bella rolled her eyes. "Don't bother, you're terrible in the kitchen," she said dismissively. Aaron was lounging on the couch again, playing a game on his phone. "You'd probably burn the eggs," he joked, barely glancing at me. Their words stung deeper than I'd like to admit. Normally, I would have brushed them off, telling myself they were just stressed, but today I couldn't let it go. A wave of resentment flooded over me. I squared my shoulders and said, "I'm trying to help. You all act like I'm good for nothing." Bella shrugged. "Not like you can help with the bills right now. Maybe you should just stay out of the way." Dad walked in, looking for coffee, and told Bella, "Let her do something. God knows we need the house cleaned." He glanced at me. "But don't expect any thanks, Yasmin. This is your responsibility." I swallowed hard, holding back tears. They didn't see me as a daughter or a sister. To them, I was just a servant. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, but I didn't show it. Later that evening, as we sat together in the living room, I tried again to bring up the subject, maybe hoping for a little understanding. "I've been working for so long. Maybe it's time I take a break. Look at other options, maybe even consider early retirement," I suggested cautiously. There was an eerie silence. Then Bella snorted, and Aaron almost choked on his drink. Dad leaned forward, clearly confused. "Retire? What are you talking about? You haven't even made millions, Yasmin. You've been doing casual work. Nothing special." I felt the sting of his words deep in my chest. I wasn't just doing casual work. I had been a team leader at my last company, saving them tons of money over the years, but they never saw it that way. Mom from her recliner chimed in, "Please don't act like you're someone important. We're the ones who needed real support, and you've given just enough. Retirement is for successful people." The bitterness in her voice made my insides churn. After all these years of sacrificing my life for them, they still didn't see me. I looked at them in disbelief. I've given up everything for this family. My youth, vacations, career opportunities, even the chance to go to college. And now you think I'm just being selfish? Mom shrugged and turned her attention back to the TV. "We need your help, Yasmin, not your rest. Stop daydreaming." It was like a punch to the gut. I was done being treated like this. All I wanted was a break, a chance to breathe. I'd given so much, and for what? So they could keep taking and taking without ever giving anything back? Days passed, and the pressure kept mounting. Job hunting wasn't easy, and I was still reeling from the loss of my job. My dad pulled me aside one morning, his voice quiet but firm. "I talked to a friend. He owns a cleaning agency. They're hiring." My blood ran cold. A cleaning agency? "Dad, I've got office skills. I've led projects." But he shrugged. "We need the money." "You're home all day. Either that, or you pay for a caregiver for your mom." Bella chimed in from behind me. "Yeah, a caregiver would be nice, but since you can't afford it, you'll just have to take care of mom yourself, right?" I felt a rage stir inside me. I wasn't beneath any job, but their tone was cruel. It was like they were treating me like I was lazy, like I was nothing. "I'm not your maid," I snapped. "I've been the one holding everything together for the last decade. You all can't even see how unfair you're being." Aaron scoffed. "Unfair? You're the one who lost your job. You're not pulling your weight anymore. Do what Dad said." It was like a final straw snapped inside me. There was no respect, no appreciation, just expectations. I was done. That evening, we sat around the dinner table again. The same old scene. Mom watching her soap operas, Bella painting her nails, Aaron finishing his meal on the couch, and Dad half asleep on his spot in the living room. I took a deep breath and said, "I've been working for so long. Maybe it's time I step back, take a break, consider other paths, maybe even retire early." The silence was deafening. Bella let out an exaggerated sigh, and Aaron nearly choked on his drink again. Dad, looking genuinely puzzled, leaned forward. "Retire from what? You've barely done anything worth retiring from." His words hit me like a ton of bricks. My cheeks flushed. But it was time. It was time to stop giving. Time to take control of my own life. I was about to lose my cool when I remembered I had to find a way out. I couldn't keep living this way. The next day, the tension in the house felt unbearable. I kept telling myself that things were about to change, that I was done being the family's doormat. But inside, I was still struggling. There was a constant weight in my chest, a knot that refused to loosen. I kept applying for jobs, hoping something would come through, but nothing seemed to stick. I decided to try helping around the house again, just to prove I wasn't completely useless. I took over cooking, cleaning, and washing the laundry. I thought maybe it would help alleviate some of the tension, but it only seemed to add to it. Bella rolled her eyes as I started cooking. "You're probably going to mess it up. Don't bother." Aaron, once again on the couch, didn't even look up from his phone. "You'll probably burn the food," he said with a smirk. Their words hit me harder than they had before. Normally I'd shrug them off, but now it was different. The resentment, the frustration, it all built up inside of me. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. I couldn't keep pretending I wasn't drowning in their lack of appreciation. That afternoon, Dad came in looking for coffee. "Let her do something," he said to Bella. "We need to keep the house clean." Then he turned to me. "But don't screw it up, Yasmin. You're not going to get any thanks for this." I bit my tongue, swallowing the lump in my throat. I wasn't his maid. I wasn't anyone's servant. I was a person. But at that moment, it felt like no one saw me as that. I was just someone who worked, someone who took care of everyone else, without ever getting anything back. That evening, I tried again. I was sick of being treated like I didn't matter, like my needs were secondary. So I mustered all the courage I had left and said, "I've been working for so long. Maybe it's time I take a step back. Maybe I need a break. Look at other options. maybe even think about early retirement. The silence in the room was suffocating. Bella snorted and Aaron almost choked on his drink. My dad leaned forward, clearly confused. Retire? You haven't even made millions, Yasmin. You've been doing casual work. Nothing impressive. The sting of his words burned deep. I wasn't just doing casual work. I had been leading projects, saving the company tons of money. I had worked hard, sacrificed so much. But to them, it was never enough. To them, I was never enough. Mom, not even looking up from her TV show, chimed in. We need your help, Yasmin, not your rest. Stop daydreaming. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. All these years of giving everything I had, my time, my energy, my dreams, and for what? So they could belittle me? So they could take me for granted? The next few days dragged on. I kept applying for jobs, kept trying to keep things together. But the strain of it all started to break me. Then one morning, my dad came to me with an idea. I talked to a friend who runs a cleaning agency. They're hiring. A cleaning agency. The words were like a slap to the face. I was better than that. I had skills, I had experience, I had spent years working hard, only to be reduced to this. But Dad shrugged. We need the money. You're home all day. Either that, or we have to pay for a caregiver for your mom. Bella piped up. Yeah, a caregiver would be nice, but since you can't afford it, you'll just have to take care of Mom yourself. I felt a wave of anger crash over me. It was like they didn't even see me as a person anymore. They didn't care about my dreams, my life. They just wanted me to serve them, to meet their needs, no matter what it cost me. I'm not your maid, I snapped. I've been taking care of all of you for over a decade. I've given up everything for this family. And now you want to treat me like I'm just a housekeeper? Aaron snorted. Unfair? You're the one who lost your job. You can't do your part anymore. So do what Dad suggested. That was it. The last straw. I felt something break inside of me. There was no respect, no gratitude. Just constant demands and expectations. And I was done. That night, we sat around the dinner table again. Same old scene. Mom watching her soap operas, Bella painting her nails, Aaron finishing his meal, and Dad half asleep on the couch. I looked around the room, feeling a deep, aching emptiness. It was time to finally say it. I couldn't keep living like this. In this house, in this prison. I'm done, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. I've been working so hard, but it's time for me to take a break, to think about my own future. I'm going to retire early, look at new options, maybe find a way to live my life for me. Silence followed. Bella snorted again. Aaron nearly choked on his drink. My dad, clearly bewildered, leaned forward. Retire? You haven't done anything worth retiring from. I felt my cheeks burn. He was right, in a way. But what did he know? He didn't understand the years of sacrifices I had made, the nights I stayed awake worrying about bills, about taking care of them. Mom, looking up from her show, said, We need your help, Yasmin, not your rest. Stop dreaming. I couldn't believe it. I had given up everything for this family, and all I was asking for was a little space to breathe, a little time to take care of myself. But no, they wanted me to keep giving, keep sacrificing, without ever considering what I needed. That night, as I lay in bed, I knew it was time. Time to leave. Time to stop being their doormat. The next few days felt like I was living in a fog. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how to make my escape. But the closer I got to my decision, the more my family seemed to tighten their grip. I could feel it, their constant expectations, their dependence on me. They needed me, but I didn't need them. And that realization hit me harder than anything else. Every day I thought about what my life could be if I left. I pictured waking up in a place where I didn't have to prove myself, where I wasn't treated like an afterthought. I dreamed of peace, freedom from the constant judgment and guilt that had weighed on me for so long. But at the same time, I felt the guilt rising in me. Could I really leave them behind? On the morning I finally made my decision, I woke up early. My heart was racing, but I knew what I had to do. I had made my mind up. It was time to stop living for them, to stop sacrificing my happiness for people who didn't care about me. I packed a single suitcase. I didn't need anything else. Everything I needed for this new chapter was inside me. The sound of the usual morning chaos filled the house. Dad complaining about the bills, Mom asking for her medications, Bella yelling at Aaron for hogging the bathroom. It was like any other day, but for me, everything had changed. I was done. I took one last look at the mess that had been my life for so long. The cluttered living room, the faces that never seemed to appreciate me. And then I walked out of the door, suitcase in hand, and I didn't look back. When I stepped outside, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. The air felt different. The world felt bigger. I had no idea what was ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I got into a taxi, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't have a clear plan yet, but I knew I was going to figure it out. I had to. I couldn't keep living in that toxic environment, feeling like I was suffocating. The taxi dropped me off at a cafe, and I sat there for a while just staring out the window. I could feel the adrenaline rushing through me, my mind still racing. But something inside me felt calmer than it had in years. For the first time, I was in control of my own life. I wasn't someone's caretaker anymore. I wasn't the family's provider. I was Yasmin. Just Yasmin. I pulled out my phone and made a call I'd been avoiding for a while. The lawyer's office. It was time to finalize everything. I had been sitting on a secret for months, and today was the day I was going to take action. The lawyer's assistant answered, sounding friendly and professional. I explained who I was, and she seemed genuinely relieved to hear from me. We set up a meeting for that afternoon, and suddenly, everything started falling into place. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. I went to the lawyer's office, and as I sat down across from the assistant, I could feel my heart race. My entire future was about to change. She handed me a stack of papers. "All you need to do is sign, and the funds will be transferred to your account," she said. "It's all set up." I took a deep breath, signed the papers, and as I did, it felt like I was signing away my old life. No more sacrifices. No more guilt. No more being the person everyone depended on. I was about to create a future for myself. A future that didn't involve anyone who didn't appreciate me. When I left the lawyer's office, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't known was possible. I was walking into a new life, one that I could shape with my own hands. For the first time in years, I wasn't answering to anyone but myself. That evening, I checked into a beautiful hotel. It wasn't extravagant, but it was nice. I had a view of the city, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged in the world. No more pretending. No more feeling like I was invisible. I was finally starting to live for me. The next morning, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. I was going to make things happen. I was going to invest wisely, create a future for myself that no one could take away. I wasn't going to let the past define me anymore. I was going to redefine myself. I walked out of the hotel and found a luxury real estate agency nearby. I was ready. I was going to buy a place of my own, something that would reflect the new life I was building. I didn't need anyone's approval. This was mine. All mine. The agent, a tall woman named Abba, greeted me with a cold smile. She seemed a little surprised when I mentioned I was looking for a property, but she quickly got into business mode. We drove around in her sleek black sedan, heading to a luxury development on the outskirts of town. When we arrived, Abba started reciting prices that just months ago would have seemed out of reach for me. But I wasn't worried. I wasn't pretending to be something I wasn't. I knew exactly what I could afford now, and I was going to show her that I wasn't just some person who had no idea how to handle money. We toured a stunning apartment, the kind I had always dreamed of owning. The sleek design, the open space, the view of the city. It was perfect. When Abba mentioned the price, I knew it was a little above what I had planned to spend, but I didn't hesitate. I pulled out my phone and showed her my bank balance. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God," she stammered. "I didn't realize." I smiled calmly. "I'm ready to buy if we can finalize quickly." The change in her demeanor was immediate. Suddenly, she was eager to help me. "Of course. We can start the paperwork right away." I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as I signed the documents. I was doing it. I was buying my own place. The first step in a brand new life. A life where I wasn't second-guessing myself or worrying about anyone else's needs but my own. The paperwork was finalized quickly, and as I walked out of the real estate agency, I couldn't help but feel like I was floating. The weight that had burdened me for so long was finally gone. I wasn't just living in a world where I was always responsible for everyone else. I was living for myself. The freedom, the independence, it felt like a fresh breeze had swept through my life, clearing out all the old dust and burdens. It was surreal, but it was mine. I walked down the street, my steps light and confident. I was no longer the person who had to live up to impossible expectations. I wasn't just a caretaker or a provider. I was Yasmin, and Yasmin was going to make her own rules. I spent the next few weeks settling into my new place. It wasn't as extravagant as it might seem to others, but it was perfect for me. The apartment had a view of the city, big windows that let in plenty of natural light. I could see the horizon every morning, and it reminded me that my future was now in my hands. There was no more fear, no more guilt weighing me down. As the days passed, I started to think about what I wanted to do with my newfound freedom. I wanted to invest wisely, make sure that I could sustain this life I was building. I began looking into business opportunities, places to invest, ways to secure my future without depending on anyone. The idea of relying on others was something I was done with. This was my time. I wasn't going to let my family's expectations pull me back into the cycle of dependence. They had used me for so long, taking from me without ever giving anything in return. I was done being their ATM, done being the emotional crutch they could lean on without ever considering what I needed. I had been their servant, their caretaker, their problem solver. But now I had to focus on solving my own problems. But as I started to enjoy the fruits of my labor, my family hadn't given up. The texts, the calls, the endless messages came flooding in. They needed my help, they said. They were struggling. Bella was in trouble with her job, Aaron couldn't pay his bills, and Mom's health was getting worse. The message was clear. They expected me to come back, to fix everything again, just like I always had. I ignored their calls at first, not ready to go back to that life. But the pressure was mounting. I could feel the weight of their expectations from miles away. My phone rang constantly. They didn't get it. They didn't understand that I couldn't go back to that life, not after everything I had given. But somehow their voices, their pleading, it was hard to ignore. Then one morning my phone rang again. It was Aaron. His voice trembled with urgency. "You bought 2 condos, Yasmin. Everyone's talking about it. Where did you get the money?" His words were frantic, but there was a hint of disbelief, maybe even a little jealousy. "I'm not going to explain myself," I said calmly, though my stomach churned with frustration. I had worked hard for this. It wasn't their business how I got the money. He hesitated before speaking again. "Listen, we're struggling here. Bella lost a job, Dad can't keep up with the bills, and Mom's health is getting worse. We need you." I could hear the desperation in his voice, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of the old guilt. But then I remembered everything they had put me through, the way they had treated me when I lost my job. The lack of appreciation, the way they had dismissed me, mocked me when I was at my lowest. This wasn't the same Yasmin anymore. "I'm sorry, Aaron," I said firmly. "I can't help you. I've done enough." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening, and then Aaron muttered something, but I couldn't quite make it out. It didn't matter. I wasn't going to be sucked back into their drama. The next few days were filled with messages from them. My mother sent a text. "Yasmin, we miss you. Can we talk?" Bella reached out saying, "You know we love you. Please don't let money get in the way." I felt the waves of manipulation hitting me from all sides. They hadn't changed. They still wanted something from me. Then, to my surprise, a bouquet of flowers arrived at my apartment. The card was from Aaron. It simply read, "I'm sorry, can we start over?" I stared at it for a long time before ripping the card up and tossing it in the trash. I wasn't their emotional punching bag anymore. I wasn't going to be their source of support when they had nothing to offer me in return. I had spent years trying to make them happy, trying to be the perfect daughter, the perfect sister, but it was never enough for them. They still didn't see me for who I was. They still only saw me as the person who could help them, the person who could fix their problems. Then the next shock came. I woke up to see that Aaron had gone live on social media, crying about how I had abandoned them. The video was titled, "My Sister Left Us After She Got Rich." He painted a picture of me as the villain, claiming I was selfish and had turned my back on the family. He accused me of not caring about Mom's health, of ignoring their needs. It was all lies, but the emotion in his voice was so convincing, so manipulative, that I could feel the anger rising inside me. The video spread like wildfire. People who didn't know me started commenting, calling me heartless, cruel. It made me sick. I knew I had to take control of the narrative. I wasn't going to let Aaron's lies define me. I decided to go live myself. The title of my stream was, "The Truth About My Toxic Family." I opened up the receipts, literally. I showed proof of all the bills I had paid for them over the years, the medical expenses I covered for Mom, the times I'd put my life on hold for them. I read the text where Bella had called me lazy and useless, and I showed the world the way they had belittled me, how they had made me feel like I wasn't good enough. And then, the surprise. I announced that I was donating $100,000 to a women's shelter in my area. "I'm not selfish, I'm not greedy," I said, "but I've done enough for them. I'm not going to keep enabling them." The reaction was overwhelming. The chat exploded with support. People who had followed Aaron's story were now seeing the truth. My phone was blowing up with messages, many of them in support, others in disbelief, but I didn't care. I was free. I was free of their manipulation, free of the guilt. And then, a few days later, the truth came crashing down on my family. Aaron's social media accounts were flooded with comments about his lies. People were sharing screenshots of his past posts, calling him out for everything he had done. His sponsors dropped him and his followers turned on him. Bella was dragged into the mess as well. They couldn't escape the consequences of their actions. It didn't feel like victory. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like relief. For the first time, I wasn't the one to blame. I wasn't the one who had to carry the burden. Weeks later, I found myself standing on the porch of my new lake house. The sun was setting, and the gentle sound of the water lapping at the shore filled my ears. I took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill my lungs. This was my new life. My peaceful, free life. No more drama. No more guilt. "I'm free," I whispered to myself. For the first time in years, I believed it.